Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News, and today has been a pretty crazy day for cryptos. You guys have most likely already seen it, but well, we talked about the whole Fed conference over in our live stream from earlier today. The interest rate increase was 75 basis points, aka 0.75%, from 2.5 to 3.25, with the future outlook also being quite negative. We talked about it, right? Over in the speech, he gave a couple of different ideas about what they think is going to happen over the next couple of months and years. And what the whole battle, I guess, of words came down to is that the next couple of months are most likely going to be another couple of very significant rate hikes. And yeah, there's actually one very interesting video that we are not going to watch with sound, but take a look at this. So there's this one trader, and he was actually doing very good over on Bybit, which, by the way, is an exchange that I love. Go check it out down below. But he was checking out over on Bybit, and look at what happened, right? So at first, you guys can't probably see it, but he's in $130,000 in profit or something like that. And then you can see, this is when the, turn the sound off. This is when the Bitcoin price was pumping at the beginning of the Fed speech, when we just got our numbers out. The prices just went parabolic for just a teeny weeny bit. You can see the Bitcoin price start to pump up, and I think it bumped up a couple percent. Let's quickly see. It pumped up about 2.5% or so, leading him to about, a crazy amount of profit, 130,000. But afterwards, you can see that dip of roughly around 6-7%. After which coins like XRP rose another 13-14% after that, which was interesting. But let's get back to the video. You can see that right afterwards, he just got absolutely wrecked. And over the next minute or so, you can see his actual realized loss, you guys can see, go to 35,000. And then after that, at the couple of end seconds, you could just see his entire position being wiped, completely wiped out at this point. Done and over with. So for all of you guys wondering how much money is this, $2 million. Obviously, this is not 2 million of their own dollars. I think it's 50,000 bucks because I think they have 40x leverage going on. But that still obviously is not a nice win. And for that reason, you don't trade the FOMC meetings, the inflation numbers. You don't trade that stuff. Unless you go with strategies we discussed before with a positive and negative sort of option open. Because you never really know what's going to happen. Very often there are stop loss hunters trying to take you out. If you get the correct call, you're most likely going to make a freaking load of profit. Most likely absolutely crazy. But getting the right call on moments like this is pretty hard because we expected pump and dump, which is what happened. But to what degree, what percentage, which is the critical factor, we did not know. And you can see right after that dump, there was also a very significant pump yet again. If you did not exit quickly enough, you might have still got stopped out. It's difficult. But as I said, this type of stuff, no. Palm swap right now, yeah. That was very cringy. But yeah, this is a project one of the friends of mine is launching, and it's honestly very freaking good. So basically, there's a fair launch right now, and I'll tell you guys about the project in just a second. There's a fair launch right now, which means you have about 1 day and 15 hours to get in at this current price. Well, this is going to change and go up. Because basically, a fair launch meaning you'll decide what type of price you pay yourself, basically, with the amount of demand. It also decides the price. You can see the entire vesting schedule right here. It's over on the BNB chain as well. And again, in short words, it's basically a community-first approach where a lot of these insiders are not that easily making money. And I think a lot of bigger cryptocurrencies that have some bigger backing could kind of learn from this. There's a couple of different cryptos that you might know that have done it before. And usually just works well over longer periods of time, specifically in bear markets, because usually the coin doesn't dump as much at the beginning during the launch, right? Because people basically pay what they think is a fair price for it, which basically gets the price up gradually but slowly. And so, in my own opinion, the risk to reward with these types of cryptos is pretty good. But I guess that kind of depends on what type of crypto it is, right? Well, how you go about buying it, by the way, it's pretty simple. I think you just connect the wallet, press the amount of BNB you want to invest, and press invest. Again, I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying I have some of these tokens. I think it's honestly a pretty good idea. My own thoughts. But you decide for yourself whether or not you think it's smart. I'm just letting you guys know about the opportunity. It's one of those coins that's launching in a pretty negative time, but with a pretty good method, so it has a pretty good idea of still doing well. I think they're going to launch at a 2x, and we have I think 25% unlocked at the start, 2x. I think there's a pretty good profit potential, and I think you might also earn something if you invite your friends to buy over as well through the fair launch, but I'm not sure about that. So in their own introduction and words, we're just going to read that out real quick to get some sort of idea, and then I'll explain it easier. Palm is the governance token of a decentralized perpetual protocol Palm Swap. Palm enables a robust ecosystem around governance, rewards, and staking, each designed to drive future growth and decentralization of Palm Swap, resulting in a better experience for users. So basically, it's a decentralized but then perpetual contract exchange. So even though it's a decentralized exchange, you can still trade with up to 10 times leverage. You have a couple of different parts in there as well. And honestly, it's a pretty good idea over on the Binance Smart Chain. Nowadays called BNB Chain, right? Shouldn't forget about that. There's also a couple of different rewards for people that trade on there and whatnot, but let's move on with the video. There's a couple things which have happened. So there was a very, very big news piece regarding the Wintermute hack. 160 million might have been done through profanity. We talked about it before partially. A lot of fun about it in this space, but honestly, I don't think this is the biggest problem at hand right now, right? You guys understand, hacks are a very big deal, but we're talking billions upon billions of dollars right now. I think the whole situation with Mr. Let's not call out his name, but that Mr. is 10,000 times more impactful than whatever happened to Wintermute here. I mean, it's negative. We don't like it. Sure, it's obviously never nice to see. But honestly, the consequences of this are rather minor. It's not going to let any government be extra vigilant or anything like that, whereas Luna, that was a really crazy situation. And I guess these are just the negative sides of a little collapse, that more and more things are easier for these regulators to kind of zoom in on and say, hey, look at all these scams going around. It's also a rather big scam. $160 million ain't nothing. A hack, I should say. And he says to the hacker, we offer you a 10% bounty, which is, again, what my personal recommendation always is. 10% is at a point where if it's still 160 million and you got it in black money, so to speak, right? In illegal money. I'm not sure that it's enough for a lot of these guys to live the lifestyle that they want, because so much is going to be gone in making sure it's clean, I'm assuming. But $16 million in clean cash. Well, to be honest with you, there's a good chance that might work out. And if they really wanted to, they could also go for a discussion and say, hey, I want it to be 20 million, write down to send it all over. And I think they'd still say yes. Negotiating. The game of crypto, huh? But I guess it works in all these sectors the same way with the ransom stuff, right? It's just, well, you got to make it worth it for these guys. They're hacking your stuff. You did a bad job, okay. Now, you can either hope they're going to give it back out of the goodness of their hearts, which sometimes will happen with these white hat hackers. But some of these black hat hackers, they just have the money right now. They're going to, let's say, pay $50 million for one, or let's say 1,000 companies to make sure it's clean. I'm not sure how much it would cost. I have no idea, guys. No, I seriously have no idea. But then let's say they have $110 million or so left. For a lot of them, it might be worth it. But I'm thinking the higher they make this percentage, the higher they make this number, the more it's that they're going to be like, oh, probably just send it back. $60 million in white hat hacker profits and bounty and prestige, I think might be a lot more valuable. Regarding Ripple and XRP, by the way, I should have maybe said this sooner. Oh no, look at me. But the court, and this actually came out 1 second before I started making the video, because I think my retweet here was like, bam, he posted it, and within 1 second I was there, because funny enough, I was preparing for this video right here, and looking on his profile, I just found it, which was pure coincidence, but I digress. The court has reviewed the request by the Chamber of Digital Commerce for leave to file an amicus curiae brief, and the parties' responses, and has granted the Chamber's request. The order and brief are below. So as far as we understand, there was the Chamber of Digital Commerce, which, if you guys all have forgotten, a couple of days ago said that the lawsuit between Ripple and the SEC was, well, strange in a couple of different ways, mostly from the SEC's side. If you guys all remember, I believe Jeremy Hogan was the guy who kind of went on to write out that a couple of things, well, they just don't make a lot of sense, and let's quickly find it. Jeremy has been sharing so many different parts about the lawsuit which are sketchy. Again, from the SEC side, they don't make a whole lot of sense. A lot of this stuff has been shared over the last couple of days, so I don't need to repeat that, I hope. But the Chamber of Digital Commerce is right here. So the Chamber of Digital Commerce amicus brief, right? Basically their attempt to become friends with the court, which John Deaton has also done, is very helpful for Ripple. And again, right now, it's been granted by the judge, this part, which is bullish. I wasn't expecting this, to be honest. Part 1 was confusing, but argument 2 and 3 are really good, and the Chamber's disinterest in Ripple brings a lot of credibility to the brief. You can see, number 1 is, legal precedent provides that the Howey test should be applied to determine if the initial offering of a digital asset is an investment contract, and potentially they're arguing that the SEC is not doing so right now, but I digress. 2 and 3 are more important. You guys can't see it fully, I'm noticing, but it will be fine. It is well settled that the subject of an investment contract is not itself a security. We'll talk about what that means in just a second. And the law is unsettled as to secondary transactions of digital assets. Jeremy has his own explanation, and I think he's a lawyer, so let's just listen to him. The Chamber is very precise in the asset itself is not a security argument. But look at the bonus. pointing out that the SEC guidance says the asset itself is not a security, but SEC enforcement stated the exact opposite. Maybe John Deaton knows what he's doing after all, and trying to claim that the SEC is going after something which they shouldn't, claiming that SEC itself is a security, which you can't claim. And the Chamber of Digital Commerce is backing him up. And finally, the Chamber discusses how there is no authority to suggest that secondary sales, so for example, if you and I are transacting XRP right now, can be considered part of an investment contract. It's an important point for Ripple as pertains to potential damages if early sales are deemed an investment contract. Good start. And that good start is now kind of, I don't know how you say it, like scribbled over like that to becoming a very, very great ending as well, and very, very great intermediate result as it has been granted. There were a couple other pieces. Uphold is trending because they're one of the few exchanges where US customers can still buy XRP, and Uphold should be promoting XP right now. I wouldn't necessarily say the second part, but I am pretty interested to kind of read and see indeed how Uphold has been treated and how a lot of these guys around the crypto space are still supportive, yet Coinbase, in their hypocritical, interesting manner, keeps on saying like, oh, we're fighting the SEC every step of the way. We're doing it, boys. Yay, baby. But no, in reality, they're not. And I think if they wanted to show some solidarity and really showcase that they're trying to help out, they would have relisted or stood by Ripple's side or so. But because they're a public company, probably they can't do that. And companies like Binance are saying, hey, we want regulation, but we're too afraid to go for anything too crazy. I kind of respect that, to be honest with you, right? You guys know I'm not a Binance baby in the sense that I'll be realistic about anything that they do. I'm not just saying, oh, so amazing, Binance. No, I mean, let's be realistic here. They're not doing a good job from the U.S. Department in getting this regulation done properly. They're doing a very good job around the world in talking to governments and helping them out with regulating crypto properly. So they're doing a good job overall. In the U.S., Then again, maybe it's just what we're seeing on the front end. Maybe they're having a lot of discussion in the back end. I met up with one of the more board members of Binance US, actually, and we only had a brief discussion about it, unfortunately. I was not really thinking of asking that when I met those guys, to be honest with you, regarding XRP or anything like that. I wasn't thinking about it. But it's interesting for me to think how they're not really doing a good job in trying to help it out, honestly, right? Most exchanges in the US are not doing that good a job. Then again, what if Brad Sherman or some of those guys are actually going to be proven right? Where if XRP really is deemed a security, then all the exchanges that ever touched it will still be in a lot of trouble as well. I think maybe right now, by all these exchanges coming together and just bundling their forces and pushing against the SEC's oversight, they might actually save themselves a lot of legal trouble if things were to actually go wrong. We've already seen it, where the SEC right now has charged another additional 9 cryptos that were traded on Coinbase before. They will go on with this regulation by enforcement, like Brian is already saying, and the SEC has already admitted as well. They don't have any other way to regulate crypto right now. They're going through this enforcement method. But as that continues on, you guys can probably understand, well, it's most likely only going to keep getting worse. I don't really see any way, shape, or form in which it can get better unless one of these guys steps in and kind of helps out, but they're not doing that, so yeah. Again, we could talk about this for hours, but the SEC and Ripple have both concluded, let's go for a swift judgment. At the end of the day, there's so many small delays coming from the SEC side mostly, where I'm thinking as well, guys, if they have nothing to hide, why would they delay things so much? I keep stressing that. I don't think I stressed it enough. Let me just say it again. If they have nothing to hide, why hide all this stuff behind the emails, for example? Why be so strange about all of it? Why try to delay as much as possible? I think it's because they want to make sure that some sort of other cases are settled first before the Ripple case is over, so they can use that legal precedent in this case potentially. Or it's because they want to see the crypto space go down just a little bit more with a couple of different hacks to make sure they can prove their point to some degree. Or they want for the CFTC to say something stupid or something like that. I'm not so sure, because at the end of the day, their delays, it kind of proves unsuccessful. You know, the Chamber of Digital Commerce now entered the lawsuit. They're trying to help out as well with sending a brief, or at least beginning to help out. We're seeing the CFTC also take back a little bit of power and pushing for that. I'm not so sure if the SEC's wait tactics are actually smart or ridiculously stupid, but then again, it all has to end, and it will come to an end, hopefully rather soon. That was it for today's video, guys. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you press the like button and subscribe to the channel. And I'll definitely see you guys again in another crypto video later today. It's been a crazy little time here.